Syukur untuk setiap rencanamu dan rancanganmu yang mulia. Dalam satu tubuh kami bersatu menjadi duta kerajaanmu. Ku ucapkan berkat atas Malaysia, biar kemuliaan Tuhan akan nyata. Bagi bangsa ini kami berdiri dan membawa doa kami kepadamu. Sesuatu yang besar pasti terjadi dan mengubahkan negeri kami.
Merdeka! Merdeka!
Bangsa ini kami berdiri dan membawa doa kami kepadamu. Sesuatu yang besar pasti terjadi dan mengubahkan negeri kami. Hanya namamu Tuhan ditinggikan di atas seluruh bumi.
Hi, dear viewers and listeners. Good evening and peace to all of you. Welcome to another interesting segment coming on live with AMEIA in collaboration with Catholic Podcast on World Religions, the understanding of world religions. Today is the second of a series of 7 weeks, 7 Tuesdays. Before we continue, let me just briefly explain to you what AMEIA is. AMEIA means Archdiocesan Ministry of Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs, a ministry that stands to build bridges with other Christians and friends of other faith traditions. The gist is to establish rapport so as to understand and respect each other. Tonight, we have two knowledgeable speakers, Mr. Sirisena Pereira and Don Premasari, to share with us on Buddhism. Dear sisters and brothers, today we may be wondering and expecting to see two Buddhist monks. You will see in a while, they are not Buddhist monks, or are they Buddhist monks? Before that, I would like to introduce our moderator for the evening, Reverend Father Christopher Wilvraj, who was also once head of AMEIA and currently ecclesiastical assistant of catechetics in the Archdiocese of Kuala Lumpur. He is currently the parish priest of Good Shepherd Church, Stapak, Kuala Lumpur. Before my roller coaster journey to the priesthood that ended, I had the privilege of spending some months with him where we established cordial relationship with each other. Unlike with Father Clarence, if you remember last week, he shared about we playing football together. With Christ, we did not play football together, but we watched World Cup together. So without much delay, I will now hand over the floor to Father Chris, who will get the ball rolling and introduce our speakers for the evening.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you, Father Xavier. Thank you for the introduction. Uh, I believe it's a beautiful day today as we celebrate Merdeka, and I have to congratulate AMEIA and your team, especially of making this preparation of the 7 topics of different religions. And I believe that everything comes possible with beautiful when we understand and respect each other. How are you, Father Xavier, in this day or in this Merdeka?
Oh, I'm feeling so free, merdeka for myself also.
Yeah, wonderful.
Though we
Although,
have difficult times, but promising. It's
yeah,
promising. Yeah.
whatever it is, lah, you still stand as the Raya of Malaysia, being proud, being Malaysians.
Sure.
Let's not waste time. Let's
Yes,
bring
please.
forth our two speakers. As you said, we welcome Sri Sina to us. If you can bring him on so that we can see him. And welcome, Sri.
Good evening. Good
And
evening.
welcome, Don Premasari. I believe both of you are very well known to the religion of Buddhism, and as Father Xavier has introduced you earlier, I wish to say a little about. If you don't mind, Sri Sina, if I can call you as Sri, is
That's
it
fine.
okay?
Very good. That's
How
totally
about
fine.
Don Premasari? Can I call you as Prem?
Hey, that'll be excellent. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Mhm.
Just to give a simple introduction to Siri, he is the president since 2014, in the Buddhist Mahavira temple. He has been a good student, and I believe you have known the late Reverend Dhammarandan, and I believe he has really influenced you about the religion. And today you are here to share about Buddhism. Um,
Mhm.
as Father Xavier said, you are not a monk, but you are a lay person. You are
Mhm.
married. You are married, and you have a degree in law. I believe you have a
Oh, no,
degree
no,
in
no, no, no,
law.
no.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
No, I think I correct you. I don't have a degree in law.
yeah.
I have an
For
engineering background. I'm an engineering background.
engineering bank. Okay, sorry, very sorry.
Yeah.
Don, you are the vice president of the Buddhist Mahavira, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Father.
That's right. Yeah, and you also have some gift of sign languages, I believe. You
I
teach.
work with a sign language interpreter together.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, not to waste time, I believe our viewers are waiting to understand about Buddhism. Maybe I direct the first question or first reflection to Sri. Can you tell us about the life of Gautama Buddha?
Can I interrupt? Father, maybe this particular question will be picked up by my colleague, Brother Prem. Prem will pick
Oh,
up this
sorry,
question.
sorry,
All right.
sorry. Prem,
Okay.
No problem, Father Christopher. Let me share in brief about the life of Buddha. Okay, basically, Siddhartha Gautama was born in 623 BC in currently Nepal. Then it was actually India. He was born to a ruling family of the state of Sakya. And he has lived a luxurious life. And after some time, there was the sense of emptiness in him. He has felt a lot of challenges in terms of internal challenges within him, despite all the luxury that is surrounding him, the all the pleasures of life, but he still felt something very empty, despite everything that has been there with him. And we must understand this in the context of what India was at that time. India was well advanced in civilization. It has a very strong, thriving farming community. Trade was, I would say, bustling. And there's a lot of infrastructure that was put by the rulers, be it the democratic rulers at that time or the kings, to move trade. And in this time, what has happened was, despite all the luxury that he had a very big sense of question in him. After with all this luxury in life, what is going to happen to my family? What is going to happen to me? Can this be permanent or is this going to be lost? And in that sense, he ultimately understood that everything is not permanent. We will have suffering due to death. We will have suffering due to sicknesses. We will have suffering due to old age. We will have suffering and we will even die. He was seeking a way out of this. And this is when he left his luxurious life to in search of truth. He left everything, and just like when you expected us to be as monks, no, we are not. He wore a robe. He wore a robe in search of how to find these answers, how to liberate oneself from these sufferings in life. And he has struggled this for about 6 years before finally he achieved what we call as enlightenment in Buddhism. And in this process, he has tried many methods. In India at that time, there were two main schools of thought. One is actually they believe in torturing the body in search of this truth or gift of truth. The other group was actually involved a lot in leaving things as it is. But in all these methods he has tried, he could not get the answer. And then in the end, he used a method, a meditation. He tried with meditation to seek this answer, and which he ultimately became the Buddha. So Buddha is not his name. Buddha is you could say, a title we give to him, to Siddhartha, because he has achieved that sense of enlightenment. And for the next 45 years in India, he has actually traveled to share what he has learned. And we call this the Dhamma. The teachings of the Buddha, we call it the Dhamma. So he's shared for the next 45 years this method that he has found to achieve enlightenment, to achieve liberation. And after about 8 years, he achieved nirvana, where when we call it has passed away. We Buddhists call it he has achieved parinirvana, which means no more birth and death. That's in brief the life of Gautama Buddha.
Very beautiful, Don. Prem, you have really captured it very beautifully. As you said, as you were sharing that he had a luxurious life, my thoughts also went back to Francis Assisi, who also was a rich man, and he gave up everything because of the beauty. It's beautiful. Also, you told about this enlightenment that he experienced. Maybe I can put the next question to Sri. What is the Buddhist Four Noble Truths and the 5 precepts? You can share with us, maybe.
Yeah, thank you, Father. To answer this, I'll answer the second portion first. What is the 5 precepts? As lay people like myself and Prem, we have 5 principles, 5 precepts that we undertake every day on a daily basis for our daily living. All right. And what it actually says is this: these 5 precepts are this. Though I will say it in Pali first, and I will do the translation. Just the first one, so you get the hang of it. It says, "Panatipata Veramani Sikkapadan Samadhyami." Translated, it means, I take the precept to abstain from killing. That's the first precept. Now, the second precept says, I take the precept to abstain from stealing. And the third precept is, I take the precept to abstain from sexual misconduct. The fourth precept, I take the precept to abstain from wrong speech, lying, bad-mouthing people, that sort of. And the last precept, I take the precept to abstain from intoxicants. Quite often this is interpreted as alcohol, but this is any abusive substance taken for the wrong reason. I'm going to be very clear about that, taken for the wrong reason. Sometimes when there's a medicine that has a cough mixture, has alcohol in it, we do not deem it as wrong, etc. The medicine has been taken for a particular reason, so we do not turn and say that it's wrong. So sometimes certain drugs are taken as a painkillers. We do not say that is wrong. But however, if these are abused, all right, if these are abused, then we say this is not something that we do on a day-to-day practice per se. So these are the 5 precepts. It's an undertaking that a lay Buddhist undertakes on a daily basis. And there are 5 very simple things. And actually, these 5 are actually, when you cluster the 5 precepts, it's actually called the Panchasila. The Indonesian Rukun Negara is called Panchasila. So this is Panchasila according to Buddhist tradition per se. Slightly different from what I think, but this is what Buddhists practice on a daily basis. Now I move to the bigger question, the 4 Noble Truths. Just now, Prem mentioned, I continue that story, the Siddhartha Gautama attained enlightenment. And the thing that he discovered, what was he trying to discover? He was trying to discover how to end old age, sickness, and death. That's what he was trying to discover, how to end old age, sickness, and death. And then in his whole search over the years, over a 6-year search from the time he left home until the age of 35, he discovered this thing, through many processes. He discovered this thing called the Four Noble Truths. And basically the entire religion of Buddhism, or his findings, is actually the Four Noble Truths. It's actually the Four Noble Truths. So what are the Four Noble Truths? The first Noble Truth is actually defining suffering. We use the word suffering, not quite right. In Pali, we use the word dukkha. Dukkha meaning unsatisfactoriness. We are dissatisfied with everything that we have. What does it mean? I have $1 million, but no. Once you get the $1 million, you want $2 million. And it keeps on adding, no end. Greed comes in, craving comes in, sort of thing. You buy a big house, you want a bigger house. You buy one Ferrari, you want 10 Ferraris, So this unsatisfactoriness keeps on building in many ways. I've talked about physical things in many ways. So there's this craving and this clinging on. So the first noble truth is actually defining what dukkha is. It defines dukkha. All right, it defines what dukkha is. Now the second noble truth is the cause of dukkha. What is the cause of dukkha? What is the cause of craving? What is the cause of this unsatisfactoriness? So he defined that the cause of it is craving. Craving is the desire, is the cause of all these things. It's the cause of all this unsatisfaction, because you crave for things, envy, jealousy, etc. But craving is the same thing. Your neighbor has a big house, you want a bigger house. If your neighbor got 2 cars, you want the 3rd car. You are always trying to keep up with the Joneses. Never satisfied. Never satisfied. So what is the one that causes this? It is actually craving. This craving. So that was determined the cause. Now the third thing was end of dukkha. How do you end the dukkha? And the Buddha defined the end of dukkha is when you destroy this craving. When I use the word, it's not a violence. Internally, how do you purge yourself of this craving? How do you get rid of all these things? It is something that is within us. It's a self-purification process. So how do we go about and get rid of this thing? So that is actually defining what is the end of suffering or the end of dukkha. Now the fourth noble truth is called the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path, some people call it the middle path. Some of you may have heard it's called the middle path. And in the middle path, there are eight items. If you see at the end of the screen, there's a little circle there with 8 spokes. That little chakra there. If you take a look, there are 8 spokes, and that is actually we always refer to it as the Buddhist wheel. It is deemed as the Buddhist wheel. That wheel that it has changed over the years, but in the early years, it was designed around a bullock cart wheel. Many people ask, why do you have spokes there? A wheel won't turn. Actually, they're quite right. The original wheel did not have spokes, but nowadays we have modified it and made it a little bit more prettier, sort of thing. But it was designed around a bullock cart wheel, and it has 8 spokes. And what are these spokes? What do they represent? What do they represent? So I want to give it in an organized manner. I have my notes here. The eight noble truths are categorized in 3 categories. One we call sila, meaning morality. So what are the things? What are the things under this category of morality? It is right speech. Right speech. We always turn and say it is right speech. We don't just say good speech. We say it's the right speech. What do we mean by that? Telling the truth, not having a sharp tongue, not being cynical, not hurting people with our words. Our tongue can be really sharp. Can more damage than anything else. So having right speech, having the right speech, being kind to people, basically. Then there is right action, doing kind things, activities that of being helpful to your neighbor, your friends, your neighbors, etc. All the right things in there, right actions. The third one is right livelihood. What does this mean? That means for us to live a life, we earn a living, we lead a life. We carry out a life whereby, let's say, we are not in the slave trade. Let's say we are not in the drug business. We are not in the business whereby we are killing people or being a mercenary. etc. So we're having a right living, a very noble lifestyle. I know everybody says that teaching is the noble lifestyle, or being a priest is a noble, but all of us can't be priests, and all of us can't be very noble people. And if you didn't have bad people, I think there'll be no need for people like us. So I'm not saying that this is job security, but what we are saying is that the livelihood that we have needs to be noble, needs to be noble. And there are so many occupations out there that are noble, that are good, of service to community. Now, the second category we call is mental culture. This is the next three categories, three items of the Noble Truth comes. This is the right effort. What it means here is that for us going out there and doing this is part of our mental thought. We're having the right thoughts in our heads to do the right things. These are efforts. That means we're efforting to do the right things. The next one is right mindfulness. We are aware. When we talk about awareness here, mindfulness, we are always talking about actually the Four Noble Truths, telling ourselves that we have to be aware of the Four Noble Truths. Not that we are saying that we have the understanding of the Four Noble Truths. What we are saying, you have to have awareness. Why I say this awareness is this. If you are not aware, there's not going to be a change. So what we are saying, there needs to be awareness before there is change. So in this so-called mindfulness, we are telling people, we're telling an individual, when you're leading your life, always be aware of what you're doing, whether you are in line, with the Four Noble Truths. The next item we talk about is right concentration. All right. Sometimes I laugh about this and I say, when right concentration, whenever you watch a Kung Fu movie, you always see two characters, the good and the bad. They all go through the same training, but somehow or the other, one guy turns out to be good and the other guy turns out to be bad. I know this is in the Hollywood style sort of thing, but what it actually means is that even though with the right training, with the right thing, if our focus is not right, if our intentions are not right, then you tend to stray and you go around the wrong path. If you take, I know these are movies things, but it's a good analogy if you want to use the word that we talk about. Now, the next item is which is categorized under wisdom. We talk about right understanding. Right understanding. What right understanding here? We are not talking about understanding how the world began, how the earth was formed, how there is why a tsunami formed. No, we are talking about understanding the Four Noble Truths. Having a right understanding of what the Four Noble Truths are and what the teachings of the Buddhas are. That's what we are talking about. There's a tendency sometimes when we talk about rights understanding, especially young kids, they want to understand how engineering is like, how is a tall building want to come up. I want to have a right understanding. Nothing wrong with all that. Okay, those are not evil things. But having an understanding of what the Four Noble Truths are about and what right way of living is, and understanding the teachings of the Buddha. That's what it is. The last item is right thoughts. This is actually having the right thoughts. Why we talk about the right thoughts? Having the right thoughts is the mind is the forerunner. Mind of a man is the forerunner of everything. And if you don't start right in your thoughts, in your thinking, in your creation, etc., then you are going to stray. What we are saying is that you need to have right thoughts, staying focused on the good, and leading a good life. All that I've said there is very, very easy for me to say, but they're very tough things to practice. They're very, very tough things to practice. And what I've just mentioned to you, the Four Noble Truths, which is actually unsatisfactoriness, cause of unsatisfactoriness, the definition of what the end of unsatisfactoriness is, and the last one is actually the path, the leading to the end of unsatisfactoriness. That's what we call it. So we always call it sometimes the path leading to the end of suffering, but we want to say unsatisfactoriness.
So Sri, will you say that these Four Noble Truths and these 5 precepts are complementary to each other?
Yes, they are.
To each other? Yeah.
Yes, they are. Just now when I talked about right action, you can link the 5 precepts to right action directly. Right, on a day-to-day basis, it teaches it. It's a direct link with it. That's what it is. It's what it is. I don't know, Prem, maybe I asked my colleague Prem whether you want to comment on anything on this or you want to expand on this.
I think it's well explained.
Thank you.
Well categorized into the path to achieve enlightenment using the Noble Eightfold Path as the starting point.
Prem, Prem, I would like to ask you. I often hear, people saying in Buddhism there is no definition of God, no understanding of God, or God is hardly mentioned. What is the understanding of God in Buddhism, according to what the teaching says and what you understand? Maybe Prem could share a little bit on that.
Yeah, thanks, Father Xavier. Um, in the Buddhist concept, um, the actual concept of we use the word devas, or we can say gods, not one god but many gods. So in the Buddhist cosmology, they divide it mainly into five main different types of worlds that one lives in, and one of it is called the heaven worlds. In the heaven worlds, or in the Buddhist cosmology again, in total there are six lower heavens. Then on top of that, you've got the 16 Brahma worlds, we call it. So in that sense, we do have gods or Brahmas in the Buddhist concept, but we do not have a creator God in the Buddhist concept. Like Father Xavier, you mentioned just now, you're right, because in Buddhism, the Buddha placed the emphasis on the individual, the self reliance to achieve the liberation and to get the freedom away from this cycle of suffering. And to achieve that is to purely dependent on the individual. How did the Buddha put it? The Buddha put it this way. He says, I have shown you the path as the Samma Sambuddha. You have to walk the path. So it is like a roadmap that has been given to an individual. That roadmap is what Brother Siri just shared with you just now, where he talked about the Noble Eightfold Path. And when you walk this Noble Eightfold Path through your own effort, you are able to achieve with that set charted method to achieve enlightenment. So in the Buddhist concept, the creator God is not something that the Buddha emphasized on. He emphasized on self-reliance. And however, I must also mention this here. The Buddha did mention in the Ratana Sutta, in the Sutta Nipata, he mentions we are able to actually get help from these gods. People do blessings, and then they do transference of merits or sharing of merits, like we call it. You can get help from these gods, or we can call it in Christianity, we say angels, but they are not able to help you in your spiritual liberation. They could help you, they could bless you, they could protect you, but in your spiritual liberation, it is only you yourself who has to walk the path and to achieve that enlightenment that the Buddha himself achieved.
So it is not something automatic. You have to put a lot of effort in this process towards realization, isn't it? It is not so much the grace of God, but your efforts that would have to
Yeah,
work at it, right?
yeah,
Not
that's
automatic.
correct. That's
Yeah,
correct, Father Xavier. In
I see.
actually, the Buddha gives a actually the formula is very simple. Actually, he says, avoid evil, do good, purify the mind. This is the way. This is the teaching of the Buddha. I make it even easier. I just say, good to the power of three. Good to the power of three means be good, do good, and it is good to meditate.
Excellent, excellent. That's
Excellent.
wonderful. Yeah,
Wonderful.
I think this is very practical for people. I think most of the people always focus on the outside, and just relying on God becomes very passive. That they don't work towards any effort towards their own realization. This is a very beautiful understanding. Thank you, Prem. There's one more I would like to ask you on this question of reincarnation and enlightenment. Oftentimes we hear this thrown here and there everywhere, but how is it understood in the understanding of Buddhism, both and reincarnation and enlightenment, especially reincarnation? Often it's spoken of. Yeah, just could share a little bit on that, Prem.
Yeah, thank you, Reverend. In the Buddhist concept of in the Buddhist cosmology, it is divided into five main spheres of living: the human world, the animal world, the hell worlds, the heaven worlds, and the ghost worlds. So when a person actually passes away, the person takes rebirth. We call it rebirth and not so much of reincarnation, because incarnation brings the concept of soul, where one soul travels from the departed to the other worlds. We use the word rebirth instead. In the case of rebirth, it is the consciousness. With this consciousness, just like a radio wave, when a person departs in one place, he takes birth again in a different sphere. And how does enlightenment come in this Buddhist cosmology? One will continue to have birth, death, sicknesses, aging, for continues to have these in any of these five spheres of living. Even the heaven worlds, though they may be very, very long, they are not permanent. There is a chance after there is the situation where once the lifespan in heaven is exhausted, an angel or gods, we call them, or devas, is able to actually drop and take birth as a human being. So how do we stop this cycle where a person will keep on taking rebirth? How does it stop? It is only through enlightenment. And it is through enlightenment, one breaks away that cycle and stops rebirth. So that is the ultimate goal that the Buddhists worship, which is to achieve enlightenment.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Prem. The other thing I would just like to ask, would it mean, you mentioned the word consciousness, would it mean like soul consciousness, the soul being conscious of himself, and then a rebirth is taking place in another body? How conscious you are in this life will determine your next life. Would that be another way of saying it?
If we say soul,
Uh-huh.
the concept of soul is interesting actually when you go into the psychology of it. When you say soul, there is an incarnation that moves from one life to another life.
All right. Uh-huh.
And we must remember the Buddhists do not accept we use the word not self. We use the word not self, no soul. So is this person who has passed away here and taken rebirth elsewhere, is it the same person? Technically, no. But is it not the same person? Technically, yes. So in that sense,
I
that
see.
is why we don't use the word non-self, but we use the word not self. The individual is still an individual, but yet not self in that sense. It is just like there's this famous philosopher who said, when you step into a river, when you step into that river, the flowing water, you are not going to step it the same river again, the same water again, because what went just now is different from what you are now. It is a continuous dynamic flux of change, which is why the Buddha talks about impermanence, anicca.
Anicca. That's a very interesting illustration about the river. It's never in the same place, the same water. That's very nice.
same
Yeah.
matter. Very nice.
Yeah, that's
Very
wonderful.
interesting. Just want to add on, Sri. If we talk about this incarnation and enlightenment, how does Buddhism look at other religions? Yeah, how do you see them? If you look at the Catholic faith, when we say about faith, just now, like Father Xavier said, is grace and the action. You also said the action, and these two must come together for us. Like faith and action comes beauty. But as Buddhism is basically the action is so important. If I'm not mistaken. So how do you share that?
Let me see. When we talk about in Buddhism, when we talk about, first we are trying to learn first. We get knowledge first.
That's right.
One of the primary root items in Buddhism is inquiry.
That's right.
We talk about that means inquire, ask, always ask. There is no such thing as nothing can be asked about. There is not. Sometimes we use the word blasphemy. No, it doesn't apply. We're saying ask the question, because actually when you ask a question, and sometimes when you say I don't know, All right. When you say I don't know to yourself, this is what happened with the Prince Siddhartha himself. He wanted to find out. There was a search. Why? Because he did not know. And actually, when you say the term I do not know, that's the beginning of wisdom, actually.
That's right.
It is the beginning of wisdom. That's what
Philosophy
it
says.
But yes, but that's the start. That's the start. You're not exactly enlightened. So now what you do, now you have learned. You inquire. Then the next thing is actually the other thing where we are in line with in science especially. One is inquiry. The next is experimentation. We advise you to experiment, try and try again and learn from your mistakes. That's what the Buddha did. So these are the actions that you do. If you do nothing, you don't get anything right, you don't get anything wrong, and you are in a very neutral state. So you go out there and then you try. So in Buddhism, there are two things. One is inquiry, and once you develop this awareness, then you go out there and you take action. That's what the Buddha did. That's what Prince Siddhartha, I would say. Not yet the Buddha, that's what he did. He wanted to. So the inquiry element drove him, to take action. He took action. He went, he studied from so many teachers, etc. Did he learn something from the other teachers? Yes, he did. That was action. But he was not satisfied. That craving, somebody used the word,
right.
That craving, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's how the relationship to action comes into play. That's how it comes into play. Now, just now you mentioned the word faith. We sometimes, as Buddhists, we tend to say this word, we are not a religion of faith, but of reason. But I would challenge that statement. Is there room for faith in Buddhism? Yes, there is. Is there room for faith in Buddhism? Yes, there is. But what I would say is that it is a diminishing need for faith. Because when understanding builds up, just now I talked about understanding. When understanding builds up, then the need for faith diminishes. We use the word saddha, confidence in the religion, that sort of thing. So initially, yes, there is faith. Yes, we don't understand it yet. But when we start understanding it, the need for faith diminishes because understanding is picked up.
Come up.
So, that's the way I would answer it. Thank you.
I believe Buddhism has different schools of teaching or understanding. Can you share about the different schools that we have under the Buddhism itself? There are a lot of schools, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, there are many schools, but I will talk about the three main schools. I will talk. All right, three main schools. Buddhism at the time in India, when it was there, even the term Buddhism did not exist. And however, there are three major schools of Buddhism. Three major schools. The first one, the biggest group, is called the Mahayana school. According to Wikipedia, there are about 340 million people. The Mahayana Buddhists in the world. 340. And that school generally exists in places like China and Korea and Taiwan. The northern school, we call it the northern school. Northern school. Now the second school is called the Theravada. We always call it the school of elders. We are like the Catholic Church. We are like the Catholic, the elders. If you want to talk about that, we are the elders. We are a little bit more traditional. The difference also, the Mahayana schools, where the countries that they went to, they have adopted the chanting and the clothes and the dress. They have adopted the culture of those countries. Whereas us, us meaning myself and Prem and Buddhist Mahavihara, we come from the Theravada school. We call it the southern region, which basically exists in Sri Lanka, in Cambodia, in Thailand, etc. Our form, the monks tend to wear the same thing. They chant in the same language. Etc. Now, the third school is, we call it the Vajrayana school, which is going back to the Theravada school. Again, according to Wikipedia, there are about 130 million Theravada practitioners worldwide. Now, the third major school is Vajrayana. Vajrayana, people tend to relate it more to the Dalai Lama, Tibet, and that region. In that region, they're quite a small school. From what I hear, there are only about 20 million of them in the world. However, they're very well known because the thing about Vajrayana school is that it went to the West. And then they have Hollywood stars who have embraced that version of it. Keanu Reeves and Tina Turner, this, that. So it's a very high profile that they have. And of course, the issue of Tibet and the Dalai Lama It's also political and very high profile. So they have a very high profile image out there. But they are also a very influential school, and they have adopted their own culture from generally around Tibet region and sort of thing. So these are the three major schools. There are many others. All right, many subdivisions, etc. But these are the three major schools.
But will you say their theology is the same? I mean,
we are almost 100%. We believe in the Buddha, our teachings, our texts, etc. I think as far there is literally no dispute. There is literally no dispute. We accept the teaching that was out down there. There is almost literally none. Literally none. You know what is different is the behavior, the rules, and the regulations that the monks follow. That's what differs quite a bit. That's what differs because the monks live to a set of rules of 227 rules, if I'm not wrong, that sort of thing. However, these rules were set up. They are not laws that are carved in stone, and the Buddha has made it quite clear as time goes on, according to where you are, the culture, the changing time. These are allowed to be changed. These are allowed to be changed because they are not laws of nature. These are rules that were devised just because small issues that came up. That's what it is.
So it's wonderful. We have spoken a bit about the theology of Buddhism itself, understanding and getting to it. Let's go into the practices, basic practices. You know, when I was small, I was just staying near the Buddhist temple, and I used to go with my family just to see and to. I see many of them wearing the strings and all these. You know, I believe that I know it's the orange string. And I see in Prem, I'm sorry if I say, I see in your hands there's a little different colors of strings. So maybe you can share about these practices, the worship, what do really I know monks, they like to chant, and I like to sing and I like to chant, and I find it amazement when I just sit down silently with them once. So yeah, can you share, Prem?
Thanks for the question, Father. Generally when the Buddhists go to the temple, like Brother Siri mentioned on the point on faith, at the entry point on the point of faith, people need things that are tangible. People need things that can help them, give them blessings, give them confidence. So like the holy trait, we call it, or the blessed trait, or Pirit Nul, as they say in Sinhalese, or in Thai, they call it a different term. Basically, what happens is the monk who actually ties this holy string or blessed string on the individual's hand, what happens is they will chant some chanting, this blessings we call it. And in these blessings, they are blessing the person. May you be protected. May you have good health. May you have happiness. May you have wish fulfilled always. And after that, they also will use water to also bless the person. And water is something interesting as well, whereby 80% of the human body is actually water. And when they use the water and they bless the person, the calmness that the chanting gives to the individual, he will feel a real sense of protection. He feels a real sense of blessings. And with that confidence, he will set forth to do what he intends to do. For example, maybe he's sitting for examinations, or he's going to work on a project. So all these are psychological confidence that is given. At the same time, these blessings also we invite, like I mentioned to you in the Buddhist cosmology, the heaven worlds, we call them the devas, these heavenly gods, to protect this individual who is actually in pursuit of a certain action or an aspiration. So he's also protected as well. So the water comes together with the blessed string. It
How
comes
about
together.
how about the other worships, other practices? What else do they do besides this blessing part? How about the worship?
In terms of worship, normally it is encouraged. The Buddhists are encouraged to actually in the mornings to actually do the in Theravada tradition, the Buddhists are encouraged to actually pay homage to the Buddha, the Dhamma, the teachings, and the monks, and then reaffirm their faith in the three refuges, as we call it, and then reaffirm their commitment to uphold, to undertake the five precepts, to avoid from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and taking intoxicants. And at the same time, they will also, if time permits, they will actually also do 10 to 15 minutes of meditation. And in this meditation, one of the things that we always recommend, even for children actually, we call it the metta meditation, meditation on loving kindness, where the individual, they sit for a while for 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, just radiate loving kindness to oneself. May I be well and happy. May harm not come to me. May I be free from ill will and suffering. He does that 3 times, then to his parents, to his siblings, to his relatives, to his friends, and to all beings in the world. So this is you could call it the model of the Buddhist worship. And at the same time, at night, before one sleeps, actually, it is encouraged to do what we call as silanusati. Silanusati is where one recollects, one reflects on what one has done for the day, and think, oh, these are the good things I've done. Then be happy, be grateful about that, rejoice over it. Then also at the same time, I did something not too good today. I shouldn't have done this. Okay, I reaffirm my faith. Okay, I promise not to do this. This is something where I had missteps. I will not do it. And then after that, they do the metta again before they sleep. And when we do this, this is important because it gives a sense of reaffirmation to the person, and at the same time, the person will be able to have a good sleep. And the Buddha again does say there are 11 benefits of doing metta meditation, because the person will have all these 11 benefits as well.
Prem, before I could ask you this question, you have already touched it so beautifully on meditation. Actually, I remember going to Igatpuri, a place in India, where I did Vipassana meditation for 10 days. You were mentioning about metta meditation, and maybe a little bit more elaboration on that. How this, I'm sure there are many mantras used, and also the time, the frequency. You have mentioned a little bit when and where and how and what age they could start. Maybe just very briefly on that. Maybe Prem, you could share a little bit on that.
Yes, will do, Father. Um, I mentioned metta just now. Metta is actually recommended for anyone, even children, adults. It is because it helps in the person's mindfulness, to build the mindfulness, to build the focus, and to bring a sense of gratefulness and gratitude. So metta meditation is one method. The other method that is used, there are many methods actually in Buddhist meditation. There is a reflection on sila, reflection on morality, reflection on death, reflection on the 32 characteristics of the body. So there are many different methods of meditation out there, but the most common that lay people use is metta meditation, the breathing in and breathing out meditation, and also, of course, the meditation which some groups use, the rising and falling of the abdomen. I believe Father Xavier, when you went, they had actually encouraged to use
The
the rising
breathing
and falling of the abdomen for that method. So there are many different methods as well. But
Yeah.
all these methods, the intention is to bring the concentration, because we have a monkey mind. The mind keeps
that's
on
right.
jumping here and there,
Sure.
and therefore the thoughts keep running.
That's right. Yeah.
The intention of meditation is to bring the concentration. Once you have that concentration, then you start going deeper and deeper. And in Buddhism, that is the starting point. In Buddhist meditation, of course, along the way, you get all the benefits of calmness, less stress, less anger. All this comes along the way. But of course, the ultimate aim of Buddhist meditation is to achieve that very enlightenment the Buddha himself got, which you gain once you start going deeper and deeper into the concentration, and then you are able to go into the different levels of enlightenment as you go along the way.
So, talking about this question of meditation and all this, is there a need for being a vegetarian? Is it a need for the everyone to be a vegetarian, or is it? Because I believe the monks are vegetarians.
Maybe I can step in there.
Yes, yes, sir.
Maybe I can talk about vegetarianism. There in just now I talked about this three schools of Buddhism.
That's right.
Three schools. But then I go. I will take it from the perspective of our school, the Theravada school. All right. So and how we express it during the Buddhist time. During the Buddhist time, the Buddha was actually approached and told and asked by his so-called detractors, if you want to use the word, to impose a rule on vegetarianism. You know, to make it that people should be vegetarian. And he actually said no. In his approach, his answer, and he actually said no. You know, because he said, what is important is not what goes into your mouth. What's important is what comes out of your mouth, like, you know.
That's right.
And two, he says, I think a lot has got to do with the killing, actually. You know, people say, if you are a meat eater, are you contributing to killing? It all depends on, you know, the definition of what killing is, which maybe I will touch on later. But is vegetarianism, what do you call it, imposed on it? It's a must. In the Mahayana school, it is. In the Mahayana school out in North, no. But if you go now, just now I mentioned the third group, the Vajrayana group, which comes from Tibet, etc., and they live in the highlands. And the only thing that are available there, vegetables are very hard to come by. Like,
that's right.
And what do they have is that they have the yak. They live in a very highlands. It is cold, and they need meat to keep their bodies warm. And they keep it. So in that point, so you see, they have adopted this. Now, whereas in the Theravada Buddhism, the option is there for the monks to decide. Do we encourage it? We say it is a noble thing. It is a noble thing. It is commendable. That's the word to use. It is commendable to be a vegetarian. You know, it's commendable to be a vegetarian. Now, since we are talking about killing, I think it's important to touch on this topic. Because even in the 5 precepts, we talk about killing. Maybe let me try and define, according to Buddhism, what killing is. There are 5 conditions to determine what killing is. One is there must be a life. There must be a life form. 2, you as an individual must know that the life form is there. All right. 3, there must be intent. Your intent is to take that life. There is an intent. You have an intention to take your life. 4 is that there is an act of killing, of taking that life. And 5, by that act, death occurs or life goes off. That we define as killing. Now, if I go somebody goes to the shop and buys 1 kilo of meat and come back. Now, if you apply this rule, you know, we apply this rule, I suppose I leave that to your better judgment. Right? So I leave that to your better judgment. So in Buddhism, that whole idea, it's actually an attitude. We are talking about your attitude. You intend to take that life. But do we encourage vegetarianism? Yes, we do. On certain days, on full moon days and new moon days in our temple, the monks go vegetarian. There is a particular reason. There's a we use the word physiological reasons for going vegetarian on certain days. It's a long topic per se, but we do say that the human body is affected by it, and on certain days, the full moon and new moon, the impact on us, the impact on the human body, the word lunatic comes from luna.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So I'm not saying that we all turn into werewolves on a full moon day, but we do say that it is for us to be very guarded on these days, because the influence in the body, the fluids in the body, and the energies in the body need to be managed. That's what it is. Very broadly saying. We can argue about it till the cows come home.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a concept. Yeah.
Maybe Sri, or either Sri or maybe Prem could share something about your important festivals that you all celebrate. You know, I mean, some of the main one, of course, Vesak is one we know. Apart from Vesak, we are not too familiar with the other feasts, any other festivals. Maybe just Let us know what the other important festivals that you all celebrate.
Yeah, that's a good question, Father Xavier. Yes, you are spot on. The common one, of course, is Vesak. Vesak is to commemorate the birth of Buddha, the enlightenment, as well as the parinirvana of the Buddha. It's a common festival for all the three Buddhist traditions. You can call it the MTV, Mahayana, Theravada, Vajrayana. All three follow this. At the same time, in Mahayana Buddhism, they also celebrate the birthday of Avalokiteshvara, which is actually Kuan Yin. So they do celebrate the goddess of mercy, who is a fountain of compassion. So they celebrate Goddess of Mercy's birthday. They also celebrate, or rather commemorate, Ulambana, which is the period that we just finished, where they also commemorate and do transference of merits for the departed. So that's an important festival that they actually commemorate. In the Theravada tradition, there is the tradition of Katina. Katina is a period where it is done at the end of what we call as a 3-month Vasa period or rainy season period. This is the period in India. That's a tradition that they have also followed in Theravada schools, where for 3 months, the monks are not encouraged to travel out more than 7 days. Even if they travel, they have to come back within 7 days. And this is a time they are expected to actually focus more, devote themselves more to the practice. For example, like in the Christian fathers, you have the retreats where the fathers go for silent retreats. So in the Buddhist side, this is the time where monks will do daily chanting at night, and then they will do more sutta studies. This is the time where they actually do more meditation. So this is and the culmination of this period called Vassa is the Katina. So where the people will actually then come together, the devotees, and they offer robes to monks, and they offer all the other requisites as well to the monks to celebrate, to commemorate that 3-month retreat that they have just completed, and which helps them to also bring a lot of spiritual upliftment and progress with them. Another important festival that is also practiced is we call it the 3 months. 3 months after the enlightenment, we call it is Asalha or Isala. And this is where they commemorate the first time the Buddha taught to the world. So that's another important festival. So in general, these are some of the general festivals that are there. And each of it has its significance. But of course, there are many others. I just touched the main ones in Mahayana Buddhism as well as in Theravada Buddhism.
We are priests like Father Xavier and myself. I am always interested to know how does a person become a monk? Is there an age level or a degree level, or being a simple person can be a monk? Maybe Sri can help us.
I will do that. I think I will do that. Let me talk from the perspective from the Theravada school. Theravada school from the Sri Lankan tradition or the Sinhalese tradition per se. I'll touch a little bit why. Generally, about the age of 12, monks families tend to, let's say, I use the word, come to an agreement with the temple to have their children become a monk, right? One of the amazing things about it, especially in Sri Lanka, is that it is always the brightest child or son that is actually who's encouraged to become the monk. Not somebody who is, sort of thing, the brightest child, sort of thing. It might be a guy from a village, the kampong or the village. That is one. Two, there are a few conditions though. Right? One, the child must agree, not be a reluctant participant, not be dragged there by his ears, sort of thing. Two, the parents must give permission. The parents must give permission. Not the child run away from home and go, get ordained, sort of thing, that sort of thing. The parents have, and I want to tell a little story about that and why. During the Buddha's time, when he had attained enlightenment, he went back to his home. He went to visit his parents and his wife. He went because he was married. He had a son. He never saw his son. The son never saw him. However, when the son came to him, The mother told the son, "Oh, that is your father. Go and ask him for your inheritance." So the so the son went to the Buddha and asked him, "Father, I want, can you give me my inheritance?" So the Buddha said, "I have nothing. The only thing I have is the religion, the Buddhist, the discovery of the Dhamma." And he ordained this young boy. They ordained this very young boy. That upset the king very much, actually. The king was quite upset, because that means the Buddha's father was quite upset. And he said, "Hey, look, you left home and you became the Buddha. All right. I need a heir to my throne. And what you do is that you take now my grandson and you ordain him, So so there came an understanding at that point in time that the king said, "In future, could we please ask permission?" So that is how it started. That tradition started of ensuring that that the what do you call it? That the child's given permission. Is given permission by the parents. So now and what is the routine? What is the routine? I think some of the things that once you become a monk, the number of rules you have, all right, you have the monks have 227 rules.
Wow.
Okay, 227 rules. It is called the Vinaya. It's a rule, a code of conduct if you want to use for monks. And for ladies, it's about 300 over. Now, of course, many people ask, why are we so unfair? Why got additional rules or that sort of thing? Actually, it's got to do with a lot got to do with their physiology. It's nothing to do with their behavior, etc. But however, there are certain rules as well about monks and nuns. There are certain rules in the sense that they cannot stay under the same roof. They have to live in different, but they have to live nearby. All right, because they do recognize the fact that women are weak, etc. There have been times that the ladies have been attacked. So by having a group of monks nearby for safety, but not under the same roof. The other thing about monks is that maybe when I talk about what is their daily routine, which I think you will probably may play a video later. But let me talk from personal experience. I think in 1986, I became a monk for a period of 2 weeks at Buddhist Mahavihara Brickfields. Premasiri, if you talk to him, he also, I know, became a monk because we have something called a novitiate program where we go and try the monk's life, And what we actually do is that we actually get a full, complete ordination. That means we, as a novice monk, we shave our head, we wear robes, we stay in the temple, we get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the process is this. We get up 5 in the morning, we clean up, we go for meditation, okay? After meditation, I'm telling you the routine, after meditation, we go and clean the temple compound. This is a matter of physical exercise, if you want to use the word, but actually it's the duty of the monk to keep the premises clean. After that, we go and freshen up, personal hygiene, if you want to use the word. Then we go and have our breakfast in the morning. All right. Then after, this is like being in a monastery, because when I ordained, I think there were about 30 other novices at that time. There were no nuns, but there were 30 novices per se. And so we went through this routine for a period of, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, I can't remember. But I must admit, actually, in all my years of studying Buddhism and reading about Buddhism, it is in those 2 weeks, where I think I was most intense about meditation, about learning, teaching, etc. And I want to actually highlight, why I highlight this, there's a reason. Actually when you take the monk's life, you are more focused, you're more focused, you spend time, you're not worried about whether you got to get up and go for work, earn a salary, whether you're going to have to look after your wife or get a scolding from your mother, etc. Nothing. You are very, very focused. And actually those 2 weeks, I would say I had the most intense learning during those 2 weeks. So when somebody asks me this question, which is an easier path to become, to attain your enlightenment, actually it is the ordained path. Being a monk, because you have divested yourself from other attention, because you shave your hair. Why do we shave our hair? Because we don't want this attention. But like today when I was preparing for this forum, I was I washed my hair, I combed my hair, made sure it is all in order. cream on sun, sort of thing.
That's right.
We are so attached to our hair, we spend half an hour sort of doing it up. Premasari is saved because he's like, he's, sort of thing. But I think that the moral of the story, I think it is this: when we detach ourselves from our daily lay life, the focus on the religion, on the teachings, and following it is more intense. And I would say certainly that's the way it is. Yes, go on.
See, just to add on, two questions. If the young boy goes into to be a monk, he is training to be a monk. Is there a moment that he can also say, "I do not want" and leave, or does he have to get a permission? The second one is, sorry to ask, Sri, if you have been a novice, why did not stay? Is there something that you decided?
Okay,
Sorry.
let me answer the first one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right. A monk can quit at any time he wants to.
Anytime. Yeah.
Anytime. But what he needs to do is to go back to the monk who ordained him, and the so-called disrobing. There's a process. Disrobing has happened, but it's a very friendly, and it is not a harsh sort of thing, and not that he's ostracized you. It's not an excommunication. No, he continues to be a Buddhist, but he has chosen to give up the way of life of monk. Now, to answer your next question, why didn't I continue to be from a novice monk, etc.? I was actually asked this question by the then Kesri Dhammananda. Why don't you continue being there? And he asked me that question. I gave him an answer he didn't quite like. I said, Chief, I told him, Chief, I would like to go back to 5 meals a day, He didn't quite like it. I thought he was being a smart aleck, but honestly. But I think I when I went in down there, I went in very, very focused, saying that this is something that I wanted to do. I wanted to experience it. And I wanted to and it was a great learning experience. But I'm a sort of a person, I always have an end in mind, and the end in mind is that, well, at the end of the 3 weeks, this is over, and actually I will tell you the exuberance that all of us have who participated on the last day when we are chanting so loud because we are all so happy to get back home,
Sri, I just want to ask you, of course, there are a lot of do's and don'ts in of becoming a monk. There's also this question about females greeting a monk. Is there any special restrictions or anything of that sort? Greeting a monk, for females approaching them in any way?
Okay. There are no restrictions. Whenever we greet a monk, we always stand at a respectable distance. We always put our palms together to wish him. There are a few things that we do. We can say, in English, we'll say, "Good morning, Bante," "Good morning, Venerable." But there is another term that we also tend to use. We tend to say, "Thiruvan Saranai." Thiruvan Saranai say blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. And it can be from a layman to a monk, and a monk to the layperson. We do not shake hands. Please bear in mind, we do not shake hands. And I want to make it very clear, whether it is male or female, there is no body contact.
How about towards the layperson, like towards you? Do I also greet you as?
Yes, yes you do. Yes, you do. But please bear in mind, I know sometimes when monks go out, people stick their hand out to shake, and sometimes they do. But we go through the process of teaching, and we tell them, the best is to put your palms together. And today with the pandemic, that's very safe now.
How about How about dressing and respect when entering a Buddhist temple? Is there any code of dress code or anything like that that you are specifically to be dressed this way to enter the temples?
Okay. All right. I've been asked this question as president. Many people have asked me, why did I impose a code of conduct, etc. I'm very reluctant. I rather go through a teaching process. And my line that I use is that I always tell them that modesty is beautiful. And I use that tagline, Sometimes people want us to go and tell people, but when somebody comes to the very fact that somebody has come to the temple, they already came with a certain intention, whether they have a problem, they want a blessing, their parents are sick or they are sick, etc. And suddenly when you jump on them and turn on and say, hey, look, you're not dressed well, go back and change. I don't think that intention is right. There are people who would like us to do that. I have avoided that. But I think what we do is that we always advise people quietly in private to dress more modestly. And the tagline is modesty is beautiful. The tagline is that. Modesty is beautiful.
Father Chris, I think we have got two more questions, maybe two or three questions before. There are two
Yeah,
questions that have
that's
come in
right.
from outside, from our viewers. We can finish these two
Maybe
questions before.
Yeah, maybe we can ask Prem, is there any forbidden food or anything that is not allowed or not accepted in the Buddhist religion? Uh,
Yeah.
Prem?
Thank you, Father Christopher. Okay.
Yeah.
In terms, we have to be careful where we are making this food offering. If we are
Yeah.
offering at a Mahayana temple, of course,
Mm.
we know that the Mahayana monks and nuns are vegetarians. So,
Mm.
therefore, we do not offer meat at all.
At
At the
all.
same time, there's also rules on they don't even offer garlic and onions as well
Mm. Mm. Mm.
when they make the food. It is meant to be blend. At the same time, because this tradition is also from India, where garlic and onions are said to actually give a lot of this sense of high emotions to the individuals. So this is
Mm.
an Indian tradition, and this it is still being followed as well in Mahayana Buddhism, where even garlic and onions are not used in the preparation of this vegetarian food actually. But the food is actually generally tasty, even without garlic or onions. Of course, Indians definitely love
Mm.
garlic, love
Mm.
onions in their food, lots of it. But in the Mahayana tradition, no garlic and onions. At the same time, I must also mention here, in the Theravada tradition, there are monks who are actually vegetarians, and then there are monks who don't take meat but may take fish. There are monks who take anything that is offered. So, one of the ways when we go to a Theravada temple, when we offer, before we offer the food to them, we ask them, Venerable, can you take? And if the monk
Mm.
puts the hand like that at the bowl or at the plate, we do not offer.
Mm.
So, in
Mm.
this way, it is always good to actually ask because within that same sitting, 3 to 5 monks each may you may have a vegetarian there, you may have someone who does not take meat, or you may have someone who just takes fish and nothing else. All other vegetarian food is allowed, but they don't take others. So therefore it is good to actually ask. But another thing is this: generally on full moon and new moon days, the in Chinese calendar, the 15th day and the 30th day, normally temples is vegetarian, even Theravada temples. So people do not take non-vegetarian food to the temple. It's always vegetarian food. Even Vesak, it's actually vegetarian. So in a general sense, it depends. To the question, it depends which temple you're going to. Mahayana definitely is vegetarian food, but it's a Theravada temple. Be careful. You may have taken a lot of effort to make a very good chicken curry. Maybe the monk would say no, but you can just put the curry or the potato, but you cannot put the meat. Or, but some are even more stricter. They'll say no, I don't take at all. So it all depends. That flexibility, like Brother Siri mentioned, is there actually.
Prem, you talked about the monks. How about lay persons like y'all? Do y'all also take a strict diet, strict food diet, and all these things, or is it your
Again,
choice?
yeah. Again, Father Christopher, it's it all up to the individual.
Correct.
Whether we take it on full moon, new moon days, we choose to be vegetarian, or whether we choose to take meat. But of course, one thing that's forbidden for the Buddhists is actually we cannot go to the market, look at that chicken. Please take for me the chicken, cut it now for me, and this and that is actually disallowed because you are technically
Okay.
you are taking that and actually killing. You cannot say I didn't kill. You actually ordered to be killed, and
That's
that is
true.
also not allowed to be offered to the monks also, because
Ah,
that is a ruling. In fact, one of the rules for the monks also is you cannot offer that meat that has been offered in that way is actually not allowed. So, for example, generally when we go to buy a chicken or anything, you just buy what is there. If it's there's none, it is none. You don't go to the broiler side and ask them to go and make more. Cannot. Or cut more chicken. Cannot. It's not allowed.
just to go on to Sri, tell us about the social aspect of the Buddhist religion itself. How will you all do the outside social work? And we have the
Mm,
prison and migrants, and maybe
mm,
you can
mm.
share with us your.
Okay. I think I'll speak on a very, very broad. I thought about this. Huh?
That's right.
Different Buddhist organizations, which seem to somehow specialize in certain areas, sort of thing. So I will talk. I actually wrote this down actually when I was asked about this question. I think I will take let's go on an international level. All right, we'll start from there and work down to Malaysia and to Buddhist Mahavihara. I'm sure many of you would have heard this organization called Suchi.
That's right.
All right,
That's right.
many of you would have heard
That's right.
Suchi. Suchi is an organization that comes from Taiwan. It is headed by a nun. Comes from the Mahayana school. There's a very interesting story of how I think she saw a lady bleed to death, and she was not able to help. And ever since then, she started this process. I don't know the details of the story. She started this. However, Suchi has now become a very international Buddhist organization. They have structured themselves, and they're completely run on a volunteer scale. It's amazing. Sometimes even I'm mind-boggling how they're made. And every disaster in almost any part of the world, they're the first people to be there because they seem to have a network in almost every country, whether it's in Malaysia or in South America. They are always there. In every earthquake zone, they are there. When the tsunami hit in 2004, it hit Aceh. They were the first frontline people, to reach out there even before anybody else could get. So they are so well structured. So they have set up a very. I'm told that in Malaysia they have something like 1.2 members, volunteers. 1.2 million volunteers in Malaysia who come out there, and many of our members themselves in our society also volunteer there. We have no objections to that, and we work very closely with Suchi. Yeah? Sometimes because why we say is that they have the infrastructure. So that is Suchi. Yeah? But and they are very much involved in all these relief efforts, etc. Very much into all these hospitals. Even now under COVID, also they are. I mean, it's amazing, that the hospitals actually approach them first before even the government, because the response time is so good. So we have all got together and support that project. Then there is another organization. Now I come to a Malaysian environment. Our current chief, Venerable Datuk Kesri Dhammaratna, K. Dhammaratna, he has an organization, all right? This is his personal project. He has something called Tiratana, and they have many centers around. And they focus very much on orphanages and old folks home. And they're very, very successful. They're very successful. It is he's basically the founder of that organization. They have done very, very well. And they have grown. I mean, I have to take my hat off, It is a private project to him. Myself, I'm not involved. Our society is not involved, but he has undertaken this project and he has run it for almost, I think, 20 years or so. All right. So there is another organization called Mahakaruna. Mahakaruna converted or translated stands for the Great Compassion, I think. The Great Compassion. Karuna stands for compassion. And they are another volunteer, another organization that does this kind of work. And they have been quite successful in something called EduCare, where they have supported children who need aid to go to school, their school bags, their books, etc. They've been very, very strong in that. Then when it comes to counseling, we have something called Buddhist Gem Fellowship. Buddhist Gem Fellowship, which actually was a spin-off from Buddhist Mahavihara, because they have now established themselves, and they're very good at that. They do phone counseling, etc. So whenever we have people calling in, we always divert it to them. They are better trained, etc. That is not our forte per se. Now, when it comes to prisons, I think you had mentioned, prisons, things like that. There is another Taiwan group called Fo Kwang San. Okay, they are very, very active in so-called prison ministries. Like I want to use the word. I use the word. They're very strong in that. Now, when it comes to Buddhist Mahavihara, ourselves, our focus actually on a weekly basis, we are actually delivering cooked food on a weekly basis, 100, 200 packs. I think it's now reaching about 200 packs for the homeless people around KL. We do that, and we also do Orang Asli food distribution. All right, and then recently, I think it was on the 1st of July, we launched the project. Until the 31st of July, we raised about $307,000 over 1 month, and we supported 880 over families. We just ended, when you spoke to me the last time, we just ended, we distributed this. But these are one-offs. That particular project is a one-off. It's not our forte. It is not our forte. If you ask what is the forte at Buddhist Mahavihara, we are into education, Buddhist education. We are into publishing of books. Brother Premasiri is our chief publisher, if I want to use the word. And we are also very involved in organizing Buddhist talks, which we do a lot online. In fact, there's one going on today, right now, at this point in time, on the 31st, which is going on right now. So those, we tend to complement each other in many ways. We try not to compete, sort of thing, you know. And the thing, sometimes in the volunteer business, we compete, you know, sort of thing, you know. But sometimes we do meet and we complement each other. So this is the outreach program that we have, you know, and we work as closely as possible, as closely as possible.
Yeah, we are running out of time. I think one more last question, and afterwards, just the few questions. I think they already covered there. Just one question to Prem. Prem, Buddhism views on. Just share with us a little bit on, very briefly, on Buddhism's view on interfaith marriages, conversion to other faiths. What do Buddhism say about these things?
Thank you for the question, Father. I must mention here that in the Buddha's advice, the Buddha says, if you find truth in any religion, accept that truth. And having said that, how do we bring this into interfaith marriages? The Buddha mentions the importance of the mutual respect, the mutual responsibilities laid out in the sutta, which is the Sigalovada Sutta in the Digha Nikaya. This is a long sutta, but in summary, one portion of the sutta, or sutta is a teaching, the Buddha talks about the mutual relationship between husband and wife. And in this sense here, the husband, before he embark on the marriage with the wife, they must first start their relationship on the basis of metta, universal friendship. And that is very important. It cannot be just a relationship which is just a relationship of pleasure. No, it must be a relationship of friendship, mutual friendship, of support to each other as good friends. And when you have this as the basis, what happens is it doesn't matter what religion one is, because there is mutual respect. Most of the time, if you notice, the issues that happen, it is not because of religion. It is not because of difference of religion. It is the greed, the ego, the hatred, the resentment. Like in Malay, they say sometimes hasad dengki, the immense vengeance. That is the problem. And then religion is dragged in, and they use other means to solve this problem. But actually, if they have metta as a starting point of their relationship, and they do get married, and they respect each other, don't just think the love is just blind. You're marrying not just husband, wife. You're also marrying into the family. You will have in-laws, and don't end up having them as outlaws. So things like that. Those are important points that we need to take. And in terms of a charter, back to the Sigalovada Sutta, the Buddha stresses the mutual responsibility. The husband, just to give you an example, there are 5 ways the Buddha says that the husband must respect the wife. You must be, he says, you must be courteous to her. You cannot despise her. You must be faithful to her. You must hand authority to her. You must provide adornments to her. And then the wife, what the wife must do. The wife, in return, she must perform her duties well. She is hospitable to relations and attendants. She is faithful. She protects whatever he brings to the house. And she must be skilled and industrious in discharging her duties. So, I mentioned metta as the starting point. I mentioned the mutual responsibilities both must have to each other. And having this together, the friendship and the responsibilities, it is an important stand where any marriage can last. It doesn't matter what religion it is. In fact, Brother Siri, he is a Buddhist, but his wife is actually a Christian. So that's a very good example. And they're happily married for how many years, Brother Siri?
What do you, I think we were counting yesterday. I think it's about 33 years. I think.
I think, I think, I think it's a
33 years.
beautiful, it is a beautiful expression and understanding and outlook of what interfaith marriages are from your perspective, which you have just shared, and also conversion. Buddhism has got one of those broadest understanding and very open-mindedness towards this, and that's a beautiful approach. I think that Buddhism has got the teachings of Buddha has been so well expressed here. And just three questions have come up. I think two questions have been asked already. Just one last one coming from the viewers. It's only fair we take up, otherwise, every week we'll have no time to ask. Just one question. The other two have been answered. One is, do Buddhism strictly adhere to cremation or burial, or they allow both? Just one question from the audience.
Maybe I'll answer this.
Yes.
We have no specific rules. You can, in Malaysia here, what we have done, you can cremate and you can dispose or let's say spread the ashes in the sea or the river. You have a choice. You can cremate and you can bury the remains at the cemetery, or you can bury a body in the what do you call it, in the cemetery without any cremation. You can also, and that's a culture according to the culture in the country. And let me explain something. If you take a look at Tibet, I'd be very specific about Tibet. Tibet is a very high plain, high land, very scarce land. And there in Tibet, when somebody, I don't know whether they still practice it, but in Tibet, what they actually do when a person passes away, they call it an air burial. And what they do is actually they cut the body out and they feed it to the birds.
Wow.
And it is not being gross. It is practicality of where that country is, the lack of land to bury. It's a high land, and there is no space. Whether that practice still continues today, I do not know. But they actually call that an air burial. You know, we may look at it from here and say it is gross, but there they're just being outright realistic and practical about it. You know, sort of thing. So, is it a Buddhist practice? No, I think it is a very cultural thing. These are very cultural things. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I believe all we can go on talking about this, asking a lot of questions, but I think time has come to the end. I just want to say thank you to maybe Father Xavier like to say a few words before we end.
Yes, I would like to just take this occasion to thank both our speakers, well explained, and they are very knowledgeable. Though they are not monks, but they have given us a good sharing, and I think many of our viewers and listeners would testify to that. So thank you so much, Don Premasari and Sri Sena Pereira, for your time and for your valuable sharings. We really appreciate that very much. And we congratulate all the viewers for journeying with us. And not to forget AMEIA team for working so hard, especially to the team who worked on Buddhism, Ruben, Joanne, Nirmala, and Albert. And last but not least, to our moderator, Father Christopher Wilvraj, and also Alex, who is in the back end of this podcast, the Catholic podcast, we will not forget. They are with us, journeying together, and we will wait to see an exciting one again next week with another religion. We'll keep it a suspense so that you will come back, okay, with more exciting questions and time together. And before we end, I think we don't have time to put on the video. Truly sorry. Maybe we'll call upon the two speakers and Father Chris to end up with the little prayer offering for this Merdeka. So we are celebrating Merdeka. We are in a peaceful country, though a lot of things are not so promising, but with a lot of faith in God, things will continue to work out for us. And so I turn and I hand over to Father Chris to end up with the prayer, and also together with both Prem and Sri.
So maybe Prem, I believe you're going to do it in Pali language. Maybe we can start there. And then Sri, I believe we will also do a little prayer. And then I will end it with prayer in English. Yeah.
Prem will lead.
Okay? Prem.
Yeah, Prem will do
Thank
it.
you, Prem. Thank you.
So
Not
this
to
is
forget Alex. Alex is also at the back end. Thank you, Alex. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone, to all viewers too. We ask the good Lord to bless us, especially as we celebrate Merdeka. Prem, yours.
So this is a short chanting in Pali to bless our king, our government, to lead the country well to great heights of righteousness. May our country always be blessed with progress, prosperity, and we can overcome all the current and future challenges. We also would like to bless everyone in the world so that they can, those who are in a situation or challenge, health challenge, may they be alleviated in their suffering and sicknesses. May they regain their strength to move forward progressively. May all be determined to do good, to be good, and to bring within them peace, happiness, and mutual respect. In Pali, I shall chant Sabbitiyo vivajjantu sapparoko vinasatu mati bhavatwantarayo Sukhi Digayuko Bhava Bhavatu Sabba Mangalang Rakkantu Sabba Devata Sabba Buddhanubhavena Sada Sutti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabba Mangalang Rakkantu Sabba Devata Sabba Dhammanubhavena Sada Sutti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabba Mangalang Rakkantu Sabba Devata Sabba Sanghanubhavena Sada Sutti Bhavantu Te Nakatta yakka bhutanang papa gahani varana paritasanu bhavena hantu te sampadavi yandon nimittang avamangalancha yocha manapo sapunassa satto papa gahotu sukhinang akantang buddhanubhavena vinasamintu yandon nimittang avamangalancha yocha manapo Sapunassa saddho papaggohotto sukhinang akantang dhammanubhavena vinasaminto yandon nimittang avamangalancha yocha manapo sapunassa saddho papaggohotto sukhinang akantang sanghanubhavena vinasaminto dukkhapatta chanit dukkha bhayapatta chanit bhaya sokapatta chanit soka huntu sabbe pipanino Sabbe buddha balappata paccīkānañca yang varang arahangkānañca tejena rakkang vanda nisabbasu devo vassatu kālena sassa sampatti hetuca pito bhavatu loko ca raja bhavatu dhammiko sadhu
Sadhu,
sadhu sadhu.
sadhu.
When we heard Merdeka, Malaysia, Merdeka, Merdeka, it is a call for all Malaysians that we had made independence. We ask the good Lord to continue to bless our country, Malaysia, as we celebrate 64 years of independence. And for all the Malaysians, as we say, Rakyat, that God will always protect us. Whatever the situation may be, that we Malaysians will stand together for what is good, for what is right, and what is beautiful. As we all heard in Buddhism, it shares to all of us to do the good, to do the right, and that brings us blessings. I thank God for the two brothers who have helped us to understand Buddhism, to Brother Prem and Brother Sri. May God continue to bless you and your families, and to all Buddhists, to all those who believe in Buddha, that God will continue to bless you. As we continue to learn and understand other religion, that we respect each other as Malaysians, as a human person. And that is what God is. God brings us all together to make things beautiful. Give us your blessings and your graces. God loves you and God takes care of you. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Amen.
So thank you very much.
Much.
Thank you very much. Take care. God bless you.
God bless.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.